All right, let's go ahead and get to my first guest of the evening, and a wrestler from Ashland, Kentucky. He goes by the name of Casey King. He's with me right now. How's it going?
Hey, going good, Kenny. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for being on the show this evening. I appreciate your time.
Hey, anytime, my friend. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be on here, man.
So, before I get to the questions, I've seen you wrestle before. Um, you have wrestled for New South Wrestling a few months back.
Yes.
Um, and you have such an incredible theme song, by the way. uh,
Thank you, man. I thank you. It seems to be a big hit, and I'm very happy about that.
yeah, so that was my introduction to you. You've been wrestling in Kentucky. You've been wrestling in Virginia, West Virginia, other areas, and you've been definitely doing your thing uh, in the indie scene, making a name for yourself. So with all that being said, man, let's go ahead and begin. How did you get started into wrestling?
Well, of course, the cliche answer is I've always been a fan, right? And I went to college, and I was in college, and I went to school for to be a welder, to be a pipe fitter, and joined the union and working power plants and doing stuff like that. And as I would be welding and doing my classwork, my labs, I would listen to Colt Cabana in his Art of Wrestling podcast. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Um, so I would listen to that podcast while I was in class. And one day I was listening to the first episode of Kevin Steen, and they're talking about going to a zoo, and it was just Colt Cabana and Kevin Steen talking for an hour about indie wrestling and going to a zoo. And in the middle of that podcast, when I was in college, I decided, man, I got to give this a shot. I've always wanted to do it. Of course, everyone has always told me I shouldn't do it or I couldn't do it, just like everyone else always has been told. And yeah, man, I hit up a couple friends in the area, and I went and trained under Shane Storm in Milton, West Virginia for a little while. And then I decided to focus on college, and I went back and I graduated. And after I graduated, I just never stopped. I took a break, just focused on school, and then once that was over, I hit it full steam ahead, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, Coco Cabana, definitely a popular name in professional wrestling. And he definitely had a big podcast, um, back in the day. So I've listened to some of his work. Obviously I've seen him in Ring of Honor, AEW. From my understanding, he is now part of the ROH side again. It's just a matter of when is Ring of Honor going to get things going as far as maybe a weekly show. They got the pay per views patted down, but as far as the weekly side, we'll see. Coco Banner definitely still doing his thing, given all the circumstances that's happened. But yeah, Coco Banner, definitely a fan of his work for sure. I see you've been trained by Bobby Blaze, and also Jillian Hall. Jillian
Yep.
Hall, obviously, people know her from her WWE work. She is a former Divas champion as well. So, talk about getting a chance to be trained by those two.
But a smaller town in Kentucky called Ashland. And as far as wrestling in Ashland goes, you got Bobby Blaze and you got Jillian Hall. Those are the two names. Those are the two guys that have broke out and done and lived their dreams and made all of us realize that it is possible to make it from Ashland. I started with Bobby back in 2017. Like I said, right after I graduated college, and he really helped me break into the business. And I talk to him a few times a week now. Still, um, he really is the reason that I was allowed to break into business. There's no one. I had a stigma surrounding me because I got involved with some backyard stuff, and and some stuff you really shouldn't be doing because it's dangerous. You're not trained. It's a big no-no, and no one wanted to touch me around here. And then Bobby didn't care, and he took me under his wing and pretty much broke me into the business. He taught me the what to do and what not to do, and when to do things and when not to do things. He really got me my start in wrestling. And then fast forward a few years at the end of the pandemic. Well, I guess we're still in the pandemic, but at the end of the 2020, I got a chance to train Jillian Hall. And Jillian, of course, everyone knows Jillian. She's a former WWE champion, like you said. She's responsible for training people in WWE like AJ Lee and Alicia Fox and Caitlyn and Naomi, and the list goes on and on. But Bobby taught me all of the fundamentals, all of the basics, and all of the attitude side of things. Jillian made me realize how simple wrestling is, if that makes sense. Like Dr. Tom Pritchard has a saying that he says, and wrestling is really simple. It just ain't easy. And Jillian helped me understand how simple wrestling is. Of course, she comes from the Lance Storms and the Jim Cornettes and and people like that. And Bobby comes from the Malenkos. So to have those people on my side to break me into the business and teach me everything I needed to know while I was starting out. And of course, I'm learning every show I have, every day. I'm learning, I'm getting better, and that's the way you should be. But to have those two behind me has been an experience and a wealth of knowledge that I can't even begin to express my gratitude for. At the end of things, I want people to think of Ashland. I want people to think Bobby Blaze, Jillian Hall, and Casey King. I want to be in the same breath as those two. So hopefully that's the case at the end of all this.
I will say I'm definitely familiar with Ashland, for sure. I've been there a couple times in the last year or two. I think what got my attention was the good people at Time Warp. Shout out to them. They've been having some of their meet and greets there, most notably at the mall area. I've met some wrestlers there. They've even had their own wrestling convention there, and that is where I've met Bobby and Jillian. It was definitely a treat to meet Jillian. So much joyful. You know, we always like to be proud of people that comes from the same city or same state as you are, and see them have success outside of their state, and and come back and give you that knowledge and interact with fans. So Bobby is cool. He's got his own podcast as well, so check that out. Jillian still doing incredible things, training here and there. So yeah, I'm getting real familiar with Ashland wrestlers, for sure. I'm a Central Kentucky guy. I'm from Lexington, obviously. But Casey, you definitely got my attention with your appearance on New South Wrestling. Big shout out to those guys. Put it on an incredible promotion.
Absolutely.
So as far as you, man, let's talk about Squeaky Clean. Let's talk about it seems self-explanatory, especially for those that they've seen you in the ring compete. But talk about the Squeaky Clean. How did that came about?
Well, I missed pretty much the entire year from April of 2021 to April of 2022 with a torn ACL, and I was out of action, and I couldn't wrestle, unfortunately, and I had to have surgery, and they repaired me, and they got me back to 100%. But while I was out, I really wanted to focus on reinventing myself. I wanted to come back the same Casey King, only better. And before I was out of action, I was calling myself the strongest man alive. Because Casey King is the strongest man alive. Of course, everyone knows that. Look at him. He's huge. But while I was out, I wanted to reinvent myself, so I spent way too much money on new gear and new ring jackets and new boots and new everything. and I wanted to come back with a new moniker, and I threw a bunch of things out. I thought about the meddling kid to come up, play off with my Scooby-Doo fascination, like my trunks, my Scooby-Doo inspired. I thought about the meddling kid, Casey King. I thought about just a plethora of other things. The Strongest Man Alive, the Appalachian Dream, one of my old monikers when I first started. But Squeaky Clean, I wish I had a better story for this, but I literally Googled phrases that rhyme with king. And it's not a perfect rhyme, but it came up, and I was like, man, that's great. So I messaged a bunch of people and asked their opinion. I messaged Shane Storm and Chance Crawford and Bobby and Jillian, and they all loved it. So, and I loved it too. And there's a billboard in Ashland promoting Planet Fitness, and it says squeaky clean environment. And everyone thinks I got it off of that, and I wish I did, because that's a better story than just me Googling it. But Casey King he's squeaky clean, man. He's babyface 101. He is as pure as it comes. He plays by the rules, if you don't consider the confetti cannon a breach of the rules. But yeah, that's how it came about. I wanted to reinvent myself while I was out, and I think I did that. Hopefully, I'm the same Casey King I was before the injury, but I like to think I'm a whole lot better now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Obviously, you bringing up the injury is definitely a reminder that how wrestling can take a toll on a human's body, physically and mentally. And sometimes you're going through an injury like that. It takes time to figure out how do I want to come out once I get back from this. Do I want to still be the same guy, or do I want to switch it up? Sometimes some people are willing to reinvent themselves, go a different character route, and it works out for them. So I'm happy for you, man, just overcoming the injury, and getting back to doing what you love, and you're killing it out there, bro. You're killing it. So how does it feel? How do you feel, man? Just coming back from the injury, getting back to the swing of things. You still feel like you're still doing some of the same moves that you're still doing, or is there hesitation on your side? Like, how do you feel about your work since coming back from injury?
I'll be honest, man. For the past, I messaged one of my good friends, Nick Manns, last week. I wrestled 2 shows last weekend, one in Charleston, West Virginia. It was like a showcase of West Virginia's best talent, and I was grateful enough and honored enough to be asked to be on that show, which meant a lot to me. And then I was in Cincinnati, Ohio on Saturday night, and I thought both nights I had really, really good matches. And I messaged my buddy Nick, and I said, man, this is the best work I've ever done. I'm on a tear right now, and I think the work I've been doing in the past couple months has been the best work I have ever done, because of finishing my training with Jillian and her making me understand how simple wrestling can be. You don't have to overcomplicate things. You don't have to kill yourself. Yeah, it's cool, and I can do the flips, and I can do the tricks, and I can do all that stuff. But most of the time I choose not to. Sometimes I do, but most of the time I choose to do a monkey flip or use a confetti cannon instead, and I get the crowd behind me. And the crowd, since I've been back, has been better than I deserve. Everywhere I go, they have shown their appreciation for me, and that means the world to me, man. I feel great. I stopped really going to the gym. I've been focusing on DDP yoga, and my knee is the best it's felt in 10 years before this injury and after, because I've had knee problems forever. But I feel great with my knee as far as the health goes, and I feel great as far as the product I'm putting out in the ring. I really feel like I'm coming into my own, and I hope that if you were to ask somebody else, they would say the same. I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but I worked so hard to come back from the injury, I'm going to toot it a little bit. So, no, I feel great, man. I feel great with the product I'm putting out, and I feel great health-wise, and I'm so happy to be back. It was an emotional roller coaster. I wanted to quit 100 times. But, yeah, I'm glad to be back.
Not a problem at all, man. Go ahead and talk that talk, man. Coming back from an injury and you still being able to put in the work, you know. So, you know, for any athlete, you know, there's hesitation, there's some self doubt there. Like, are you going to be the same person that you were or not a better version of yourself coming back for the injury? But you came back and you haven't looked back. You still doing your thing. So go ahead, talk that talk, Casey. I know you squeaky clean and all, but talk that talk, man. I see you. I see you. So we're in the fall season now. Summer is over. I mean, we'll still get some warm days, and then cold weather will eventually kick in. So talk about some of the shows you have coming up, man. Where can people find you? What some promotions you're gonna be a part of in the coming weeks and months?
Next week, All Star Wrestling, my home promotion in Madison, West Virginia. They have a big show October 1st. You have Lex Luger there. You're going to have all kinds of stars. You have me, of course. Heath Slater and Rhino will be there facing the Heat Seekers, which are one of the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest unsigned tag team on the planet. The Heat Seekers facing off against Heath and Rhino, which is going to be fantastic. I'll be there. And then in November, back to same promotion, ASW, is Casey King versus Ethan Page, which I'm very excited for, to have that opportunity. Ethan Page is killing it right now in AEW, and I hope that I can get in there and get the win against him. I don't have a ton of stuff in October. Fall is my favorite time. Halloween is my favorite time, so I'm trying to take it a little easy. Imperial Wrestling in Bristol, Tennessee. I'm there at the end of the month, October 29th. Championship Wrestling from Florida is supposed to have a show on October 8th. I'm not sure if that show is still happening or not, but that's in Palmetto, Florida, Tampa, Florida area. I go down there every so often. Other than that, the October's pretty wide open, so if any bookers or promoters are listening to this, if you want to bring in Squeaky Clean Casey King to your show, hit me up, man, across social media. I'd love to come in and branch out and explore new territories.
Yeah, you heard Squeaky Clean. Go book the man. Go. You know, bring him to your promotion. He's professionally trained. He's got the gear. He's got the references. Got the boots with travel. Passport is ready. He's ready. He's ready, man. You know.
That's right.
So go check him out. He's on social media as well. KY Casey King, I believe, on Twitter and on Instagram. And he's got merchandise courtesy of Pro Wrestling Tees. He got the shirts. So go check him out. Go show you support. Support independent wrestling, y'all. There's a lot good happening on independent wrestling in Kentucky, in the Virginias, in the Tennessee. It's not just all that you see on TV. There's some good wrestling in your neck of the woods. The least you can do, you know, make yourself to these places. Spend you a good $7, $10, $15 or whatever the price is, and enjoy some quality independent wrestling. You'll be very happy that you did, and who knows, you might see the future of professional wrestling. You might see guys that might find themselves on the TV screen down the road. Casey King, man, great having you on the show, my friend. Great to have this chat with you. Hopefully you'll make your way to a future New South Wrestling show.
I hope so, man. I've been talking to Tony. He said he's going to bring me back in. It's just a matter of when, not if. So I love being down there. The crowd welcomed me with open arms, and I hope to get that back down there soon, man.
Yeah, we'll definitely get a picture once that happens. So thank you for your time,
Absolutely.
Casey. Continued success, man, and you enjoy your night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Hey, Kenny, thank you very much for having me, buddy. Anytime you want me on, you just let me know. We'll make it happen, okay?